Wonderful. So again, warm-hearted hello to you. So I was told that I'm allowed to speak in English because everybody, if you understands me, if not, please stop me somehow if I'm too fast or whatever. Actually, my Japanese would be horrible, so that's much better if you listen to me in English. I was not so totally sure what I should present you tonight, but I could just imagine, and we had now some kind of pre-discussions what could be of interest for you. But nevertheless, I think I will make it quick with my presentation, and later on we have a lot of time for discussions, and actually you just ask me whatever kind of nice, stupid questions, uh, difficult questions, I mean, because no question is really stupid. So yes, I think here, if we start with this chart, Bosch invented for life. Yes, our backbone is, of course, technology. Our backbone is innovation. If we are maybe not always the cost leader, sometimes we are as well, as a matter of fact, because we have to earn money. But of course, being the technology leader in all the areas where we are working, or in a lot of areas where we are working, this is most important for us. And that's basically our history since 127 years as a company. And by the way, I can say already here in Japan since 102 years. So we are a real Japanese company in Japan. So you see a few pictures and you see already a few things which we are doing as a company. So three issues I would like to touch today. First, I would like to tell you something about the Bosch Group worldwide. And I will concentrate very much on the issue of R&D, because innovation has something to do with research and development. But maybe I should not only focus on R&D in the sense of innovation for having, let me say, new developments, but also the whole company is working on innovations and on Kaizen and improvement. And you have also innovations in your business models and innovations towards your customer interface in order to be successful. Only developing good news, nice products, which technology are fine, is not good enough nowadays anymore. You are selling much more than only the products. Second point, R&D and Bosch Group in Japan. Yes, we are also innovative here in Japan. I would like to invite you to show what we are doing specifically here in Japan, not only for Japan, but for the whole Bosch world. And finally, of course, we are also interested to headhunt one of you guys, but I've seen you already working in some competitor companies, so maybe it's not possible anymore. But anyhow, I will show you what we are doing basically for also students which would like to work in Bosch, Acer in Japan on a global basis. So let's start with the first point, and I'm not going in too much into depth in that and give too much boring figures, but you should know I think we are a real large and globalized organization. So as you see here, and I have to figure out, yes, it works. So we have done last year 52.5 billion euro revenue, and we have done this with roughly 300,000 people worldwide. You know, the depth of your manufacturing and depth of what you are doing is very much determining how this relation looks like. So sometimes this relation is not comparable to other companies, but we are really a company, I think, which has a high depth of manufacturing as well. So therefore we have maybe more people than you find somehow in a trading organization or whatever. So they make maybe even higher revenue like us. We are of course profitable, but because we are foundation, I do not need to tell you how profitable we are. So we have not to report to the Wall Street. So we can just do something very, very nicely and long-term oriented. Even we are losing money for certain years with certain products because we believe in these products. Nobody cares about it, at least not from the outside. Inside, there's, of course, real pressure to make it more successful. We are really globalized. We basically cover more than 90% of the area where the GNP, the global GNP is done. So it's 90 whatever, 3% or 4%. That means more or less we are everywhere where somebody is creating value. So it's 360 subsidiaries which are working for us. And I think that's also impressive, 264 manufacturing sites, and our manufacturing sites are mainly a little bit larger. Of course, you can have a lot of small ones, but they are relatively large with up to 3,000 people and more. We have 4 business sectors, and the largest one is automotive technology, roughly 60% of our business. And I think basically no car in the world runs without Bosch components. Even your car, most likely, if we take it out, so maybe you cannot come home anymore if you would have a car here in Tokyo. It's not very commendable. Industrial technology, here we have, for example, our brand Bosch Rexroth. They are doing hydraulic stuff, and they're doing a lot of things in different areas, off-highway, on-highway, industrial products, but also, for example, for wind turbines, very heavy transmissions they are producing. We are doing a lot of automatization for the industry and the machinery, etc. And we are the largest global conglomerate for packaging machinery. So this is one of our nice areas in industrial technology. When it comes to the third one, energy and building technology, of course, also we try to do everything what is smart houses, etc., from energy generation to heating systems and all the control systems, electronic systems, in order to optimize the energy flow in the house. And last but not least, consumer goods. Here I would like to show you the power tools area, for example, very famous here. We are #1 globally, not here in Japan, because there is at least 2 other competitors, and Japanese end customers, they are buying forever the Japanese products. Even our products are much better, as a matter of fact, and cheaper and everything. But of course, who is Bosch? So branding is, of course, in Japan difficult. It's a very mature market. You have very loyal customers, and they are normally buying Japanese. But I have to tell you a secret, so we are becoming better and better all the time. And then this is a joint venture which we are having with Siemens. We are one of the largest household appliance manufacturer globally, and in most of the regions, a lot of regions, we are even #1. So washing machines and so forth are done by us. Again, here we are not selling in Japan because Japan is very much specific. The specification of a lot of components here in Japan is different. That's, by the way, something which really differs Japan from a lot of other places in the world. It's an island, so the engineers, they are not looking outside, they are looking inside, and therefore they have different kind of ways to define specification, which is sometimes an advantage because we as competitors from the outside, we have more difficulties to sell our products here, but it's also a disadvantage because your companies here in Japan, they have more difficulties to sell in Europe and in America. So going to the next, so research and development. I think that's the issue where what we see when we talk about innovation. I think here we have our backbone, as I said, 42,000 research and developers are working for us globally in 89 locations, and they are really heavy ones. And you see also the distribution is nicely done. And Asia now 24 locations with 13,000 associations. I think the important point is that in former days, they were working independently, but nowadays, networking and different kind of communication, social media, and of course, internal social media becomes more important. That means, to a certain extent, certain projects are done 24 hours round the clock in the world, and different people and different teams, global teams, are working on that. So there must be, of course, a result. They should not only work on that, but there should be an outcome because we are spending big money. So in total, that's roughly 35 billion euros, which we are continuously spending for that. And because we are a foundation, again, we do not care if maybe in some years, in difficult years, result is not so strong. We are continuously spending this money, because if we are just stopped for a few years, we would not have good products in the future anymore. So the result is good. We are very much champion in a lot of areas with regard to productivity of R&D. Actually, in 2012, we have done nearly 5,000 patents. And that means 19 patents per day, and every 25 minutes a new invention of Bosch somehow came to the market. And one headline is important for us. Our portfolio is tuned to have the vision that we always contribute to life of people, to make the life of the people more, let me say, interesting. I think also more attractive and more easy and more safe and so forth. I just here picked a few of the highlights which I like very much when I look to Bosch innovations. Of course, it could be much more, but I do not like to show you all the history of Bosch innovations. But as a matter of fact, I just collected here a very old one, for example, the high voltage magneto spark plug. Without this kind of spark plug, it would have been not possible to do the internal combustion engine. Only by having ignition and having this kind of unit, it was possible to have the combustion engine. By the way, if this would have been not available, maybe we would have started immediately with electric vehicles, because maybe you know, not only today we are now coming up with this modern new EVs, but they have been very much tested in the beginning. So the first vehicles have been very much electrified, because it was much easier just to put there an electromotor than a combustion engine. It's much easier technology. The problem, the bottleneck, was basically the battery. So this battery was good enough to bring you 10 or 15 meters or maybe 100 meters, but then the car was stopping. So therefore, fortunately, we invented here the magneto. But then let me pick safety things, because safety really contributes to life. I think that's very clear. And everybody likes to have safety. By the way, nobody likes to pay for safety. That's also clear. A car should come with all the features, but nobody likes basically to pay. But it's value. So what a car today has is really amazing. It has passive safety, it has active safety. And the first innovation was basically the seat belt, and it's really saved a lot of people. And the most important active safety system after the year ABS, which was the entry technology, is ESP, or also ESC, electric stability control. And this system avoids any kind of skidding of the vehicle, even on a slippery road, under all kind of driving conditions. And that works automatically, independent what the driver does and how the capability of the drive is. And this really saves life, and in the meantime is mandatory for all the new vehicles in the US, in Europe, but also in Japan. So also Japan has decided this. And the next one is the issue of MSC, motorcycle stability control for motorcycles. I'm not sure who is motorbiker here. Is there anybody riding a motorbike? Oh, good. So 1 to 1. So one lady, one man. Good. I like this. This is diversity. Actually, a motorbike is a very nice thing if everything runs well. So you go like this on your Harley, etc. But then sometimes you are a little bit too fast, maybe in a curve, or you are somehow just in the curve, and then you have to brake because there is whatever. And then you will see that obviously physics is working in the wrong direction, because it goes then up and like this, and maybe you lose stability and you just fall down. And therefore, of course, we introduced ABS in order to avoid that the wheel is locking, and that already saves a lot. But even this is not good enough, because this ABS also does not work in a curve. It basically works when you are going straight ahead. But this system, first time, supports you that even if you are in this kind of curve, lying in the curve, that you can braking like whatever, and you can keep basically the way and you keep your track and it is stable. Don't ask me right now how this works because this is really complicated. I still have not fully understood, but everybody will buy it because a motorbiker likes this. I tested it already and it works somehow. That's wonderful. Okay, so these are my most favorite innovations. There are more. Then maybe just as I said, you have to spend really money for this R&D activities. And as a matter of fact, it's also clear you cannot take engineers today and put them into a dirty room and say, hey, come on, and you come up with the new breakthrough innovations. These guys, they would like to have a good environment which inspires them and whatsoever. Therefore, we have also to build something which is nice and great and giving a chance to the people really to be in a competitive way, also creative. And you see here, for example, what we are doing right now in Germany, even in a high-cost country, but there are a lot of good engineers, and you have also to go there where you have the engineers. Still, we have maybe more engineers in Germany than in some other areas available, and this is a new building which we are going to do right now. So we will invest a lot of millions here in a nice complex in a very much creational area, and I think that will be really basically an engineering campus, and but this will create, of course, clearly new innovations. And here, everything is done in such a way that, of course, the building, the architecture is done in such a way that people have the direct connection to the teams which they are working with. And it's also tuned according to the development process, or let me say the innovation process, which we are doing. That means it's not only that you have an innovation process starting at understanding what the customer really needs and then finalize, let me say, maybe a product idea, etc. But you need, of course, a lot of elements in between in order to monitor and to operate this kind of process in a proper way and keep the people then somehow then creative. Okay, so then what also I think counts today, and I said this already, is the issue of communication. So only when you enable basically a new kind of communication, we call it Enterprise 2.0, then of course you can really be faster than maybe others. So if only two people always communicate with each other with email, I think that's not so good anymore. So, and you know very well, because normally you have your whatever, not only Line, but you have Facebook and whatsoever. And so you speak to a whole community and maybe they give you some feedback. So if engineers are working in this way, you are much more creative. So we have also an internal Facebook where we teaming up on a worldwide basis, basically, in a very structured way, certain people which are cross-functionally working together to work on joint innovation projects. Talking about Bosch in Japan, as I told you, we are here since 1911. So a long time. So we had the right to make a lot of mistakes and do lessons learned in that period of time. Nowadays, Bosch Japan, last year we were still number 4th largest market in the world. Due to the exchange rate change, due to Abenomics, it's now unfortunately only the 5th place. So that means France is a little bit past us somehow. So actually it's Germany, it's US, it's China, and it's France is now also a little bit larger because there's a lot of production for Europe, and then Japan. So we are doing, as you see here, 313 billion yen, and we have roughly 7,500 people, 28 locations for sales, 10 development and application center, and 15 manufacturing locations. And you see here, for example, this is our very modern test track in Memambetsu. but also we have a test track here in the center. We have different kind of manufacturing areas. We have our headquarters in Shibuya and an R&D center with more than 1,000 people, very super modern in Yokohama. And I think here I have immediately more information. Yokohama, that's basically also the area where we are doing motorcycle safety. And I think that's important. We are doing this motorcycle safety not only for Japan, but we are the center of competence for Bosch on a global basis. So that makes us, of course, very important for Bosch, because it's not only that we are thinking about what are the new solutions here, but we are also currently producing all these components here in our plant in Tochigi. And we are supplying, or we're selling then globally. That means not only to the Japanese customers, but also to BMW and Harley Davidson and Ducati and so forth. So that there we are very proud on to do really all the stuff here out of Japan. And Japan can be competitive if you really fight. So even a high-cost country like Japan can be competitive, but it's not easy, especially in production. It becomes more difficult and difficult. And of course, we have to utilize our global network. For example, we are having the ECUs which we use, or the electronics which we are used for these systems, are coming now more and more from China and other low-cost locations. So another example. Yeah, no, motorcycle center of competence again. So you see here, for example, just how we test such systems, because it's somehow a little bit dangerous if the wheel is locking, so that the guy is not falling down immediately. We have this kind of outlayers, which supports him somehow. But these guys are really good in driving, and. Yes, and then you see in Yokohama, for example, some kind of a test facility. But just taking another area where we also have a center of competence here in Japan, that's inspection machinery for pharma products. So as I said, the technology of packaging is quite important for us, and there we are leading in most of the areas. It's mainly pharmaceutical and food. In the pharmaceutical area, the issue is that in Japan, the whole end users, but also the doctors and everybody, is so sensitive with regard to optical things that they normally ask you that you have to deliver also the packaging in a highly proper way. So if there's a scratch on the packaging, of course, they will reject the whole thing even and just assume that the content is also not okay. But even worse, if there would be any kind of ingredients in your medicine. So we have systems with cameras, with video, with whatever kind of sensors, and they can check very quickly, basically, whether the right degree of material is included, whether there is any kind of small particle inside, whether the color is okay, whether there's any scratch, and a lot of things. And because this was so unique for Japan, we could use this now to sell it globally, and therefore also it's a center of competence which is working for the whole world. And so far, roughly 1,000 of these machines have been sold in 250 different nations. Then one more off-highway. You know, Komatsu, Kubota, and Yanmar, they are quite strong here. So we are supplying to them mainly also diesel equipment, but also other issues. But here we focus on diesel. And because the specific cars of this kind of off-highway products is also specific in Japan, we are well trained, and our people, our engineers in Higashi-Yama, sorry, really outstanding good in doing not only the application work, but also the old system engineering and defining the necessary specification, etc., for this specific vehicles, which then are sold to a high extent, for example, to China and to other countries. And last but not least, I would show you that our corporate research, which is also here, these guys are working right now on several areas. So we are thinking about what the elderly generation, that means elderly people, the gray hair guys, would like to have in the future. That's one point, but we also very much working on robotics and engineering of automatization in the future. And here, for example, that was a project together with the government and some institutions and industry to have a machine which is harvesting. It's a harvest machine, and you see there's no driver inside. That means that's really a unit which is then do this job on their own. So everybody is talking about vehicles which automated driving, and of course also we have these vehicles on the road, but it's not only the cars, it's also the machines, for example. And here, of course, safety is a very important point. That means it's not that easy to do that and do that in an efficient way, but we have been quite successful to develop this. So last but not least, career at Bosch. So as I said, we have roughly 300,000 people working for us, and actually everybody, of course, can enter wherever he likes in the world. So we are, of course, very much open here. That means Japanese colleagues, they cannot only apply in Japan, they can apply everywhere where they like, and especially if they apply here in Japan and just come to us as new graduates. Also, in my first speech, which I do to these guys, and I have done this to these guys this year, so I said, hey, you guys, hopefully you would like to work for us also somewhere in the world, because otherwise maybe it is boring for you here in Japan only, which is not the case. So I think a lot of them, they most likely will stay here forever. But I guess hopefully we can motivate then maybe 50% of them also to work for us somewhere in the world, because we have so many international globalized projects, because our customers are mainly all globalized, that we easily can use their capabilities in India, in Europe, in America, or wherever they would like to work. And it's actually fun to do that. And it's also on purpose of our organization, because what we need is diversification, because it's very clear that teams which are diverse, they are working better. And if we talk about diversity, then it's not only gender diversity, which is very, very important. That means having men and women in one team, thinking with both sides of the brain, as a matter of fact, which is, of course, much more than before. But it's also diversity in age, it's diversity in culture, in working culture, and of course, coming from different countries and having different kind of background, etc. And we are training the people in our programs here to be fit for use on a global basis. So we have different programs, for example, the Junior Management Program or the Junior Associate Development Program, and we can tell you about that to you more details later if you're interested in it. As I said already, the issue of social media is important. As you see here, we are quite active also in that issue. So there are 2 Facebook accounts, but there are more, but these are the main accounts right now, where you can go in, where you can see what we are doing also in social contributions. So here a few examples, playing with some Bundesliga soccer player in Higasuma Tsushima, for example. Or here we have also, every year we go to Tohoku and support children with some kind of Christmas presents, etc. And a lot of things are ongoing. You know, we try to be a good citizen here in Japan, and all this kind of things which are not directly related to our products, you can easily find in Facebook and all the other medias which we have. By the way, there's also a nice one which is caring about Tokyo Motor Show. If you go to our website, then you will see that there's a link to a special website for the Tokyo Motor Show, which will start next week. And it will start with 3 very important new megatrends. One, electrification, of course, which is already a megatrend, I think, here in Japan, but now becomes more and more a global megatrend. Automation of vehicles, not only the off-road highways, but especially, of course, also cars. I think that's a very fancy thing right now where everybody's working on it, and it will be a step-by-step approach. That means you will see what is available already today, and what maybe in 2020 there will be vehicles fully automated, but that's not the major point. And connectivity, that means everybody has to be connected all the time, but also cars will be a network point, a network hub basically for the internet in the future. And you will find on that special website of Bosch, you will find also some kind of question and answers, and some guys, they can then win, I think, a flight to Europe or to Germany if they have a nice idea. And basically the main question is, what would you do in automation when you have a car which is fully automated and you are sitting there and the car is driving? And what shall you do in between? Of course, you can, I think it's very easy. You can do your emails, and maybe you can listen to the radio. You should not sleep, because still you're somehow responsible for this vehicle, but you can do a lot of other fancy things. And please send it to us if you are interested in. It's not for Bosch guys, it's only for non-Bosch guys. And you can win a very nice trip to Germany. Okay, so then I would like to show you something a little bit more about automation, just to give you a feeling what this means for us.
Imagine yourself getting into your vehicle in the morning and you just press the button and say, "Take me to work."
This is really like science fiction. It's the future that we're working on.
First time you drive in a car and it drives on its own, it's a very special situation.
This technology is one of the most fascinating technologies. It's really cutting edge.
I can't even begin to think about the ways it's going to change the world in the future. It's going to be unbelievable.
So that was just a little bit insight in what this means, and you see much more in the Tokyo Motor Show, and not only from Bosch, but also our competitors, and everybody somehow is caring about that. But again, just to remember, this will be not a revolution, it will be also an evolution like electrification, but step by step, of course, this will play a much more important role. Just imagine also elderly people here in Japan, maybe they are not capable to drive the car anymore, and they cannot spend their money, their big money which they have collected their whole life. So that means we need this car, that this car is bringing this guy to a place where they can spend the money. And so therefore we need actually automation. I think that's clear. And you will see that. I think you are still very young. You will see that this will come up and will be just normal. And especially in Japan, I think everybody likes new innovation and easily adapts to it. It will be more easier here. And due to the fact that Japan is currently also, I think, a pacemaker in the aging society, we will anyhow see it much more and in first hand here in Japan. Okay, I would like to stop here, because then we can talk about more interesting points together. Thank you very much.